Hello, shooters, loaders, and casters. Welcome to the Georgia Shooting Connection Friday Night Live stream. We hope y'all doing good. Thanks for joining us. Do your thing, Kyle.
Good Friday evening, everybody. Thank you all for being here. We got some interesting stuff to talk about. Um, good end to a glorious week. And I'm going to turn it over to CW.
Ha! Got me caught there. I was on the side chat. Hello, everybody. I'm just chatting with you guys on the side chat. Had a pretty good week. No real advances, but we're doing good and improving, so all that's good. I got a couple of new acquisitions. I don't want to spill the beans because I want to make a couple of videos, but I picked up some pretty neat stuff. Actually, it was given to me and delivered. So I had myself a visitation day with three of my friends, and they all brought gifts. So it was a good day for me. And I'm going to share it all with you in a couple videos. So we got seasons changing here, and the deer are sure running around. My cameras are going crazy. So I think the deer are in the rut. We're starting. We've had cold weather, so it is the season. Pretty soon we're going to have them kids running around too, with all the masks and outfits on. What do you got going on there, Mock? How you doing?
I'm doing okay, guys. Good to be here. Just recouping and stuff. Got back to work yesterday, so not much going on. I like to get back into the swing of things, get back on a horse, and hopefully that rut's kicking in. We'll get out there in the woods and see if we can get us one. So we'll head next door to Mr. Hot Pot.
What's going on, everybody? Great to be on the Friday night chat. Got a really good side panel going on. I've been busy all week and doing videos, cranking them out, and got stuff uploading until next week on a daily. And waiting for some more stuff from other companies to come in to review it. I love being a tuber, man. You get all kinds of cool stuff. But just glad to be here. Glad to be here. Ready for some schooling. What's up there, Walter?
Oh, it's a good Friday evening to everybody. I'm glad to be here. Happy to take part in the chat again tonight. I had a pretty good week here. We had a good week of weather here. Central coast of California was, cooler. Obviously, the fall snap is in the air, as snappy as it'll get around these parts. I got some shooting done this week, and I got some loading done and some casting done, and got my YouTube channel taken down by YouTube. So I got a new one started today. So that's my week. Everything's looking good other than all that. So Scotsman, what's happening down your way?
Good to be here. Good to see everyone out there. Just working like a dog and, not getting the reward. But anyway, it's good to be here. Good to see everyone out there, and good to see it. Appreciate the link, Jamie.
Thanks for joining us, buddy. What did we do? Anybody do anything shooting, casting, reloading wise this week?
I spent a day at the range shooting the new 380 and took a couple other pieces out, give them a little run around and stretch around the track there. Had a good time.
How you liking that LCP Max?
I love that little thing. It's just a sweet shooter. And it's eating everything I'm throwing into it, from the self-defense to ball, brands. I'm impressed. I'm impressed, man. That's a keeper.
Did you get any molds for it yet?
No. I already had two boxes of some hollow points, some Hornadays, and I picked up 250 rounds of ball from my FFL. No mold yet.
American Reloading has had a special the past 2 times on some 380 projectiles, and they're dirt cheap. I think the last price was $35 shipped for 250.
I just
Might
paid.
have been 500.
Yeah, my FFL just got 250 for I think it was $24,
Yeah,
and they're just copper plated.
these were copper hollow points.
That's a good deal.
It's
For hollow
probably that 35 bucks or so for 500. I would guess that'd be 6.5, 7 cents.
It was one or the other. Yeah.
You know what stunk though was trying to pick up the brass for it on a range full of brass where we have IDPA events.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 380 is rough to pick up unless you know where you're just shooting it, because it fools you until you get right on it.
Got to put a tarp down.
There you go.
How about
There it
that?
is.
99 grain hollow points, 500 of them for $80.
That's
They
up
had a
there.
special.
That's
It was
16
35,
cents a piece.
35, or maybe it was 39, but it was cheap, and it was shipping included. But you got to look at their email because it wasn't listed with everything. It was by itself. Tommy Boy one there, 50 for 500 hollow point.
That's a link from their email, from the email I got for them. Coming in here, we have the king of all pins. Hey, Kingpin.
Hey, Mr. Kingpin.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate seeing everybody in the panel and the chat, of course.
Howdy.
Good to see you.
Nice seeing you, Kingpin.
Very distinct voice, isn't it?
The man, the myth, the legend himself.
Welcome aboard, sir.
So I did some bullet casting this week, and I'm trying to catch up on my powder coating.
Yeah.
That's from 6-shooter Texan mold right there. How many is that? 200 or 300 maybe?
Oh, I would say so.
Couple hundred anyway.
A couple hundred, yeah. I got to do quite a bit of casting actually, but not my usual length of time, just short ones. But I cast probably 3 or 4 times. I cast up a bunch of bullets for our friend the pastor there, and then I cast up more of those for Don. Trees are blowing, and then Ricky came down to visit, and I gave him all that we cast that day, and then I cast more for myself.
Boy, you got any lead left?
Actually, I used the last bar out of my range scrap when I filled the pot back up. I have no more in my range scrap.
Boy, want some?
I've got, I don't know, half a dozen buckets, but the thing is, they're all about 80 or 90 pounds, 100 pounds, and I can't move them.
No.
So I got to
get a shovel and dig it out a little bit at a time.
It was rainy. When Ricky was here, I was hoping we would do a little smelting, but it was raining or threatened to rain, so we didn't want to take the chance. Sunday is supposed to be nice here, so maybe I'm hoping I can con somebody to come over and give me a hand for a couple hours.
Yeah, it'd be nice. The weather holds for you. I did a little bit of casting myself. I didn't do too much. I cast that Lineman 429 360 bullet, which is kind of a orphan child mold, and not too many guys like that one, but I'm going to see how it runs for me.
I don't picture what it looks like.
You want me to go get one? I'll go get it. I'll show you what I cast.
I can answer that question from Georgia Trapping. I've loaded up about 400 rounds with those Gen X primers. They're just slightly oversized for some cases, but they do insert very firmly and nicely. They are soft, and everything I've shot through the 380, the hand loads, has been the Gen X. So I've had good luck with them. Every one of them went bang.
I'll back you up. I've had good luck with them too. So
I've got some that Mock gave me that I have I've loaded, but I haven't shot yet. But I expect no issues because they're in 357 Magnum.
There's a Ricky sighting in the
Inside
the
chat.
site chat.
There's that 429 360 CW. It's a
Let
kind of a
me
long nose,
let me zoom you up.
long nose. That top driving band
Mhm.
is a narrower diameter than the bottom two, and that's apparently has to do with a lot of guys saying they had trouble getting this thing to shoot very accurately.
Mhm.
So Gene Frixell thought that maybe that was supposed to be a bore riding band, but anyway, I'm going to try it. And I'm going to load these up in 44 specials specifically for the Henry rifle and see how they do there out of a longer barrel. And the other one I cast was this one. This is the RCBS 45-230-CM bullet. This thing dropped really fat. This thing dropped at 4.55. Two cavity mold, both of them dropped that fat. They sized okay, and I used that light violet coating from Eastwood because it goes on real thin. So they still sized okay. But
That's a good sized B plat too. Yeah.
yeah, that's a nice big fat meat plat.
Yeah, that's coated well too. It looks good, man. That's a good job in powder coat.
That'll go thump
Thank you, sir.
right there.
Yeah, that's a thumper.
Schmecker.
Wish my powder coat was that pretty, but I powder coat 300 to 500 at a time. I do a big old basket.
Yeah, that's a bunch. And do you basket bake them when you do it that way, Gene, or are you standing them up?
No, I throw them in a basket.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the most I do at a time, and I haven't done it in a while, but I think the most I usually do is about 100 or so at a time.
Yeah, I tend to do smaller batches too. I enjoy the casting part so much that I rarely. There's only a couple of bullets that I'll cast 500 at a time or more. Ones that are one or two of them that I have that are just real favorites that shoot really well. And then I'll do maybe a basket bake, but I'm usually at 100 or 200 or something at a session, and that's enough.
Somebody's got jokes up there.
shots fired.
I figured something was going to be said.
Saying.
I didn't want to be that guy.
No. See, here's the thing. Let me explain something to you.
There we go.
Broke loader. Since you're out there and you want to start throwing shots, let me explain something to you, there, brother. And it's all out of love. He's not shooting hammer fire. He's shooting striker fire. I'll leave it at that.
So I got these bullets here I cast. Let me show you these to you.
Me too, Tommy boy. I wish they did more than just 2 cavities, 1 and 2 cavities.
Let me see if I can do this. That is that 200 grain 429 gas check bullet.
215, 429, 215.
Yeah, that's the one.
Ricky just got that.
Do what?
Ricky just got that mold.
Yeah, that's a good looking bullet. I'm gonna buy me some gas checks for it. I sent Mark home with a bunch of these when he visited last time. Have you had a chance to do anything with them yet?
Got them sized and checked. I haven't put them in a case yet. But
Let me see that. Oh, and that's your, is that the John's hand loading powder coat?
Actually, underneath it is, and then I put a coat of some metallic on top just to give it that lead look. But it ain't coming in, guys. Sorry.
No, that's good.
That's
Hello,
good.
Julian. There's lever guns 50.
Yeah. I love that bullet. I hope it does as well as it looks like it's going to.
I hope so too, but I'm fixing to have to go put this dog out. I knew somebody was going to say that.
Yeah.
Good evening, guys. We're glad we got some more folks coming in here. We're filling up.
There's
Side
a
chats.
Mario sighting.
All right. You ready?
2, 3.
Hey.
Hey. Hey, Mario.
Hey.
Mario. West Coast.
What is he, Mark?
West Coast weirdo.
That's what he is.
He is the battle beam.
The battle beam. Sexy Mexi.
Yo, Billy up. What's up, man? How you doing? Corners and doors.
That's what I know, Mario.
See,
We
see,
just do
see,
it
battle
for you.
beam. Here's the issue, man. Alan's not with us. Alan's got the perfect one. Well, Jen has. Jen has the perfect one for you.
Fuzzy's right again.
There's Hillbilly up. So yeah, man. There you go, Fuzz. We're all getting to that age, aren't we?
Hillbilly Up was on our chat the other night with Chris from the 740.
I thought that was American Hillbilly. Different guy, same guy.
I thought it was the same guy. Pretty sure.
Two different guys.
That's a kingpin question.
Yep, same guy.
What's up?
Hillbilly Up is in the side chat.
Hillbilly Up's good dude. Really, really high energy. Good personality. He's funny. He hangs out with us on Caliber Corner over on Travis P11's channel for the couple chats now. Super pro 2A, Super America. Really, really great guy. Got a really great channel. Likes to blow stuff up and do cool stuff and just have a lot of fun. So when Hillbilly Up's around, you're gonna have a good laugh and a good smile. He's a real good dude.
So what you're saying is he loves America.
Oh, fully, absolutely. That dude's 100%. He bleeds red, white, and blue. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yep, we've had him on before. He's a good dude.
So I'm gonna tell y'all something I did that I might get in trouble for, but I don't really care. If I get in trouble at work, then I'm gonna turn it around on them and tell them how they ought to be ashamed of themselves. We closed the school back at the end of the last school year. Well, here it is. It's October, where the kids are looking forward to the Thanksgiving break. So are the teachers. We've been in school since August. I went to get the copiers out of the old building. And as I was loading them in the truck, I noticed that we had rain coming in and the American flag was still on the flagpole and they didn't have any lights to light it up. Well, at that point, I took the flag down and didn't have anybody to help me fold it up, so I chunked it in the back of my van, drove it back to the office, and then one of the guys came in and one of the other techs, and we folded it up, and it's in its proper triangular configuration setting in my shop right now. And the guy that helped me fold it up didn't know how to fold up a flag. So you know how that goes when you're doing it with somebody that don't know how you never get it as tight and as firm as it needs to be. But and it was wrinkled. I mean, it'd been up there for months and months and months, been rained on and everything else. If nothing else, it needs to be properly disposed of. But I'm gonna take it to the superintendent's office and ask him what he wants to do with it. And the guy that helped me fold it up said if I didn't want it, then he wanted it. And I'm like, well, I think somebody from that school, uh, like one of the retired teachers or principals or somebody like that, ought to have first crack at it. But it flew all over me, man. I mean, it did. It riled me up a little bit. And
And Battle Bean's right, man. You took care of it, and that's the main thing.
Attaboy. We were all taught that as kids. It's crazy how much you don't see that happening these days.
it don't it don't mean what it should to some folks.
Exactly.
Well, that's what I was going to mention. Is it's definitely become a piece of material. Because if you ask people why do you pledge allegiance to a flag, it's just a flag, it's just a piece of thread, then they're never going to understand that. And I would never do that either. I would never pledge allegiance to a flag. That's a piece of thread. But what we don't teach them is the flag is CW. The flag is Kyle. The flag is Jamie. The flag is all the little children in that school that want to have the quote unquote American dream and good education and all that. The flag is Willie Bullet Man and Mario and Squibload and Rob D, all the men that put on the uniform, all the police out there that people love to hate for all kinds of silly reasons. It's that the flag isn't. You, we, I, we don't pledge allegiance to that thing behind Jamie that's made out of thread and ink. We pledge allegiance to what it represents, and that's a good way to look at that thing and see all of our American brothers, see Bald and Curious, see Tack, see Scotsman standing there at the induction center taking that oath. That's what you see in that thing, whether it's red, white, and blue, or whether it's black and white and yellow and Mexican and orange and whatever. It's the human being that you're supposed to see in that. Our brothers and sisters in America. That's what we don't teach anymore. We've allowed them to just disregard it as a piece of cloth.
Amen.
Amen.
Everything that this country stands for sits behind that flag, sits behind that red, white, and blue. And that is what we pledge allegiance to.
Johnny Cash did it proper with the ragged old flag. If you ever heard that.
Yeah. There you go.
I was going
properly.
to say everybody needs to hear that.
Yep.
Once in their life, anyway.
Kingpin said it well, man. It's everything that this country represents and what it stands for. You know?
There it is. And to the republic for which it stands. Exactly.
The fact that unfortunately they stopped saying the pledge in schools and they stopped doing this and they stopped doing that. That's where the lack of understanding of the culture, the lack of understanding of the meaning behind it has been lost.
Yeah.
It's very, very sad to see.
It is, and Walks is right on it too. He's middle school in the library.
If you haven't heard that Johnny Cash song, I got a link right there I just put up.
Now it's my understanding that it's my understanding that if you do not have lights to light up the flag at night, you need to take it down, fold it up, put it away, and then put it up the next morning. And if you don't have lights, you need to get it down before it starts raining. But you can leave it up at night and in the rain if it's lit. Am I correct? on that? Mark says yes.
I think that's the only requirement if you have a pole. Like the people who stick them on their garages, like on the little flagpole next to their state flag sometimes, or their favorite football team. Those things are basically, as far as I understand flag code, you're allowed to leave them out all year round. But if it's on a pole, it's got to be lit or brought down
Yeah.
when the sun goes down.
If the flag is on a vertical pole with a truck on top, that's what they call that little ball at the top of a flagpole, they call it a truck for some reason. It needs to be lit.
Cranky, behave yourself, or I will drive out there and I will whoop your ass. You're not that far away there, buddy.
We're learning good stuff tonight. I think that's the point. The sun should never set on an American flag.
So, damn it, excuse me. Go back to times of war and soldiers holding the flag and never letting the flag hit the ground. Think about that. There's a reason we don't let it hit the ground. There's a reason we light the flag. There's a reason that these things happen.
We did it every day before school. We'd go out, raise it, and at the end of the day, we'd pull it down and head home.
Folded it up correctly when you got it to the bottom of the pole and never let it hit the ground,
That's right.
like Scotsman's saying. But, you got that flag represents who we are, like Kingpin was saying. It represents our beliefs, our way of life, our uh, our core values are, but the values the country was founded on all the way back to the 1760s. But more than that, it represents those people who fought and died to keep it up there. And
That's right. To make sure that that's the flag that's flying over our ground and not something else.
yeah,
The thing is, when you not to bring up specific politics, but when you go back to the Trump administration and you look at the rest of the world and a lot of the protests that were going on, a lot of the uprising and other different stuff, one of the things that you saw in every different country was an American flag. Every single country, whether it was Greece or whether it was Taiwan or Hong Kong or any of these other countries, when the people were like, hey, this government is way too bad, you got to get your knee off of our necks, you could see them flying the American flag. I remember one time, I think it was in Hong Kong, I can't remember exactly where, they were singing the United States national anthem, and there was more American flags flying around than whatever country they were in flying. So this isn't just our idea of what the American flag represents. The whole world sees it the same way. And unfortunately, right now, they don't have that shining beacon on the hill to look at. But if you go back just a few short years ago, it's all over the internet, and I'm not making it up. There was protesters all over the world envying what we have, singing our national anthem, waving our flag.
Freedom is a wonderful thing.
I agree, broke loader. Someone should take pride in making those here on the States and leave it there. That's ridiculous.
One of my most prized possessions that I have was given to me by Mrs. Holster. And I probably wasn't there more than, I don't know, maybe an hour, maybe two tops. And she looks at me and she goes, are you opposed to the rebel flag? And I'm like, no, ma'am. And she hands me this folded flag. It was Mr. Holster's rebel flag. I proudly own that. That's where it all started. So I'm proud to have that.
Somewhere I have my grandfather's flag that he was buried with full military rights, and maybe that's why it means a little bit more to me. 'Cause, G23, glad to have you out there.
Mark says it well. Yep, exactly that, man.
Our greatest generation. And I've told y'all my granddad's story.
Yep.
That's true, Leverguns.
Amen.
Am I the only one that hears the national anthem playing faintly in the background and an eagle screeching?
I was more like "God America the Beautiful" flying going through my brain right now.
Glory, glory, hallelujah. In my mind.
You know what happens when you speed up the Battle Hymn of the Republic about 4 times faster than it's supposed to be? You know what you get? The Georgia Bulldog fight song.
And speaking of which, it's a sad day for the Georgia Bulldogs. They lost one of their greatest coaches ever. Vince Dooley passed away today at the age of 90.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm gonna dig in my closet this weekend until I find Papa's flag. I think it might need to take the place of the one I got behind me right now. There you go, Walks. We can get on to another topic. I need to go through the side chat though. We're almost 40 minutes into this thing. You guys know we can't do this without y'all, and so if you would like for me to call your name, type in USA in the side chat. How about that? That's quick and easy. Abigail, you sound like my son and my stepson. They are uh, big time against the Fed. All right, here we go. Are y'all ready? Jerry Lee Lewis passed away too. Whole lot of shaking going on.
Mm.
Let's see. We got MCK looked to be first on the button there. Walks Fletcher. I can't say it. Walter. Trees are blowing. Abigail Finnegan. Reloading from the hot pots in the panel and in the side chat. We got Mark Thomas. Baddies led games. Hey Ricky. Tommy Boy. Papa's Place. Georgia Shooting Connection. I'm assuming that's either Kyle or CW. Daniel God is my judge. Tim S. William C. Chapin. Andre D'Angelo. Chris 338. Corners and Doors. Tactical Fudd. Papa's Place. G23. Never mind. Cancel G23. USC. Anyway. Hey G. Edward Petty. Hillbilly Up. Mario Mosen, Lever Guns 50. Mike Kester, USA Rebel, Alabama Reloader. The Scottish American, Garage Guy 879. Critter 9A, James Pollard. Cranky Cletus. Walt says it's the a-hole. You got to be careful with that, man. Anyway, all y'all, welcome. 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 What's up with Kyle's hair? I haven't seen Kyle's hair.
Did you lose it?
Y'all have given me a complex.
It's like you don't have one already. And don't be making fun of those that don't have hair, because me and CW are in an elite club.
Like I always tell you, God made
What
very
club
few
is it?
perfect
Hair
heads.
club for men.
God made very few perfect heads. The rest of them he gave hair.
That's right.
God made very few perfect faces, and the rest of them he put here.
Hey, I resemble that remark.
That was harsh, Walter.
Of course it was.
It was a good one. Good one, though.
Lord.
Being the only clean shaven one on the panel too, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is that? What is that? Clean shaven. What in the what?
I was that about 12, I think, maybe 11.
Now, Rebel, you being a North Carolina boy, why do you want to talk about somebody from Pennsylvania?
Oh, God. Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started there. All right. We had a request for a different topic, and we're not doing Fetterman because, wow. Yeah.
Because we don't do politics. We've been
Yeah,
hearing that crap all week.
wow.
And by the time we get to Friday evenings, we want to talk about shooting, loading, and casting.
That's not even politics. That's just
All right. How about this?
that's just someone that needs to be in hospital.
So the seasons are changing. It's getting cold. It's colder in my garage this week than it has been all summer. Is that going to change what you're doing with your reloading or your bullet casting or your shooting or your, the gear that you're wearing when you're out hunting? What's going to happen with you guys personally with the weather change? For me, I got no heat out there in the garage. I have a little floor heater. And if I go out there in the morning and it's 39, which it can be in the late fall and winter, I'll put that little heater on. But typically, I like to get my loading done in the morning and get out and go do everything else. But in the wintertime and late fall and winter, I'll wait until the sun comes up and heats that garage up a little bit more before I get out there. It has a slight effect on the temperature I run my casting pot. If it's real cold, if it's 40 degrees out and I set a mold down because I'm casting right in the threshold of my open garage, and those things cool down faster. It's noticeable. I have to run my pot just a little bit hotter. But other than that, I hold off on my bench work till it warms up a little bit later in the day. I don't do it early in the morning. How about the rest of you guys?
When it gets colder, are you using a hot plate to keep the mold warm?
No. Typically, I'm only casting 2 molds at a time at the most, and there's no time to go stick one. I'm rotating the molds. Fill one, set it down briefly, fill the next one, come back to the first one, break the screw, dump it, go fill it, break the screw on the next one, dump it, go fill it, and just keep that going. So I really don't need to or have time to set them on the hot plate. Now, if I was casting a bigger mold, a gang mold, and a smaller one, I might keep the smaller one on the pot and keep it warm. I do preheat the molds no matter what they are before I start. So yeah.
So what do you think about dipping that spoon in that hot lead with the condensation on in the morning?
That's a good point, because I have to pay attention to that here, because we do get a lot of fog. I'm only 6 miles off the ocean, and we have a lot of foggy mornings. And I learned that lesson. I used to live inland, and it wasn't an issue, but it is here. If I stick that spoon, my stirring spoon, in the pot without drying it off or putting it in there very slowly or letting it heat up first, it'll fizzle and sizzle and sput and sputter just from the invisible moisture that's on that spoon. So same thing with your lead. If you got lead that's sitting around and you're going to add lead to your pot, it could very well have moisture condensed over it, and you got to be real careful about that. You got to heat it up first. If you start off with the lead in a cold pot and let it gradually heat up, that moisture will evaporate as the pot heats up. But it is a concern that you got to pay attention to, because if you just jam that damp spoon down in there, you're going to get spits, and you're going to have stuff all over the top of your garage.
That's one fairy that's real.
Yep.
I was looking. I've got a light about 3 feet over my pot, almost directly over it. And I was looking the other day, and it's got a splatter of lead on it.
Yep.
I don't remember it happening, but there it is. So,
little drips that, if it's a drip that drips onto the surface of your pot, you're not going to get a lead exposure for that. It's going to sizzle and evaporate right off the surface. It's whatever you drop in to that pot and push down below the surface, it's going to cause the problems. And these guys, your sprues and stuff, if you're out there casting on a foggy day, or your culls, I won't put them right back in that pot without heating them up first. I'll collect them, start with enough lead in my pot to do the day's damage, and then the rest of that stuff will get reheated later.
Hey, Walter, be careful out there driving, buddy. And
Hi, Walter.
Hasbro's in here.
And if you are out there and you are casting and it is getting colder and you do have potential for that moisture and all that, don't pull a Willie Bullet, man. Don't wear shorts.
Yeah. It's tempting to get out there with nylon gear, like a down vest or something that's polyester, and the lead will melt through that stuff like nobody's business. But probably won't hurt you, but it's.
Oh yes, it will too, Walter. That stuff melts and it don't come off. I mean, it
won't come off. Yeah, it won't come off. But if you're wearing it as an outer layer, for me anyway, and I'm speaking from experience here. Believe me, it's not likely to penetrate through your next 2 or 3 layers that you got on. But you're right, it will melt. So your tennis shoes, if or your mesh boots or whatever you got on down there, if they're not leather, and you drip onto that, you'll melt right through that stuff. And you talk about a hot foot.
Just remember, gloves are your friend.
Yeah, I wear a mechanic's apron when I'm casting because of the splatter. And that thing has caught a lot.
Yeah, you guys have seen my casting gear. So it's all cotton, Levi's, leather boots, long sleeve cotton shirt, full face helmet, and gloves. And I know a lot of guys don't like to wear gloves. I do. They can be clumsy, but you can get gloves that fit good.
I've had that phenomenon happen where you have an ingot with mold with moisture trapped in the deal.
Yep, I've seen it too.
Stick it in there, and it starts to boil and bubble and scare the living crap out of you.
Gloves are very, very important. And I'll tell you
sometimes
why.
Those ingots will have a cavity in them too, hole in the bottom of your ingot where there was a air bubble or something trapped under there when you poured it, and it leaves a little cavity down there in the bottom, and they'll collect moisture in there too. You drop it in, and all of a sudden, bango.
You got to be careful when you're on the phone talking to people and you're casting.
Yeah.
Things
Tommy
go
boy.
wrong, such as you're on the phone for a while and you go, "Oh, I need some more lead," and you've been mixing your spoon up in the lead, in the hot lead, and you go and you tap it and you take it out and you go to grab another ringgit and put it on there, and you just happen to put your hand under there to support it, and you don't have your glove on.
I'll tell you a story on myself, and I hate to admit to this one because this is like the only other time I made a mistake. The first time was when I thought I was wrong, but I wasn't. But one time I had some ingots and I needed to add lead to the pot. And so I thought, well, I got my hot plate over there. So I set the ingot on the hot plate.
Yeah, that's not
just
good.
not thinking, I come back and here's this extra layer of lead. It peeled off and came off, and I thought, you moron, what is it, your first day or what?
I put them on the back of the pot, but not in the hot plate.
So that didn't work out well, boys. Don't do that.
The lineman's got a lot of good flat surface area on top to warm your ingots.
Yep.
So as far as myself, when it comes to the colder weather and times like that, I don't really switch up too much as far as reloading wise goes, but I generally, we're getting into heavy coat season, big coat season, whatever you want to call it. So I switch up to the shoulder rig, and I go to my 44 Magnum, my 29.
I like it.
I used to change guns in the wintertime. I carried a 40 most of the summer, and then I went to a 10 millimeter in the wintertime. But since I got the Shield 45 5 or 6 years ago, I just carry that around the seasons and don't change.
Whoever's flagging comments, G23 had a question a couple back.
Well, I'll go back and look.
That might even be a short little topic after we get done with this one, because that's a good question.
Oh, I asked a question. Okay.
Was that the one about he was asking about projectiles for a 38 special
I
revolver?
assume so, yeah.
What's the best projectiles? I think I found it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Cast bullets. Do you really got to ask?
Man, that's a loaded question, man. There's all kinds of cast bullets.
Wad cutter, baby. That is a loaded question.
There's a bunch of good ones.
There
Yeah,
is.
the 38 Special is such a versatile little cartridge. You can put all kinds of stuff in it. The 38 Special almost screams 148 grain wad cutter at you. But there's all kinds of stuff in the 125 grain range.
Yeah.
And in the 158 grain range, round noses, semi-wad cutters, whatever you want, all the way down to those 105s.
Yeah, I was going to say, start off with your 105 Lee, jump up to the 180s. I mean, you can really load them.
The Lee
158 grain semi-wad cutter right there.
The Lee 125 is another one that's inexpensive mold. It works really, really good.
Yeah, a lot of people like the 125s.
Yeah.
This is a 358-477. You got a crimp groove and a good size lube groove.
That's a darn nice bullet. The 466 is nice.
And let's not overlook the Lee 358 158 round flat. That's a good shooting bullet.
Yeah, it is.
I had Tom over at Accurate make me a 130 grain round flat. And
that's the old standby. That's the old bullet weight for 308 special. I've got a 135 Ranch Dog.
Yeah,
it's a nice bullet.
It's a good classic look to an old, cartridge. And I cast him up for a cowboy shooter here close to me. He loves that. And then the 200 grain 45 too.
Yeah, I've got an NOS 135 grain and one from MP also for 38.
You can send a mold to a couple of different people, Georgia boy, and they can convert that to a hollow point mold. Mr. Hollow Point Eric can do it for you. He does about the finest work you're ever going to find, converting molds to hollow points.
I think he'll even do one if you've got a double cavity. He'll do one
Yeah,
of the cavities.
He'll do 4
for you.
cavities.
Yeah.
He'll do a 4 cavity.
Interesting.
Okay, so I hope that answers your question, G23. Hey, Big E's out there. That 358-477, Curtis likes it, Walks likes it, I like it. I like it so much that I have 2 molds. One of them's a NOE clone, one of them's the original Lyman mold. But the NOE mold is one I won from me and Kyle won. Helped get me into casting. I won it from Full Ed Taco giveaway, and it's gas checked. And you take a gas check on one of those things, you can do. I mean, look, with powder coat, you don't have to put a gas check on. But if you take it and put it in a gas check, all of a sudden you can run it in, you can size it down to 356 and run it in 350 Legend. You can leave it the way it is and run it in 35 Remington for plinking loads. Man, it's just a solid bullet. I really like that one.
I have that mold too, but mine's only a single cavity. I need to get myself a nice double cavity to run with it.
I've got a single cavity hollow point 477, and I got a double cavity, a 2 cavity. I've also got a classic old, and I don't remember the number off the top of my head. It's a 4-digit number because it's a 20s mold. But it's 130 grain semi-wad cutter, and somebody has made it a special hollow point. It's like a Hydra Shock. It's got a point within a point.
Oh.
It comes in about 120, 122 grains, or the original 130 as a solid, and it's a nice custom hollow point that somebody did on that.
Yeah.
I've got another.
And back. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I've got another one right here. This is the M&P 359 Hammer,
That's a real nice mold.
and I'm gonna be sending it to CW here soon for a while. Let me show this bullet off right here. That's Eastwood's Ford Dark Blue, and that's the Penta hollow point, and it's gas checked. And I really want this bullet to work in 350 Legend, but with that old jive, I'm not sure it's going to. But it's going to be awesome in 35 Remington, and it'll shoot good in 357 Magnum, I'm sure. That bullet is the 358429 Big E. It's 180 grain, I think, semi-wad cutter for 357.
358429 is a 170 grain Keith style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's the biggest cavity mold that they make for civilian market? Hey, if you guys were going to go online, and can you get a 15 cavity mold?
Depends on the manufacturer. Hensley and Gibbs made a bunch of, they called them arsenal molds, and I've seen them up to 10
Yeah, I was
cavity.
gonna say the biggest one I've seen is a
And
10
it's
cavity.
you got to be Popeye when you use that. It's a
That's literally
Yeah,
a handful. Even
you
a
bet-
6
you better-
cavity,
You better have
big
your
bullet,
spinach.
like a 6 cavity 45 ACP or something. That's a heavy mold.
I use mostly all 6 cavities for my handgun.
Yeah, Willie had one of those big 10 cavities.
Yeah, I have 2 of them. I have a 7 and I have 2 10s.
Yeah.
Matter of fact,
Talk about emptying a pot. Good Lord, you can drain a pot quick.
Oh, they do. especially in bigger calibers like 45s and 44s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even the 6 cavities, you know, and Lee's aluminum 6 cavities are a lot easier to handle than,
Yeah.
Well,
than
heck,
one
you
that's
just
an
take
iron
a
mold for sure.
you just take a 2 cavity 44 mag mold and you'll drain a pot real quick before you know it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get into a big boy caliber, it goes quick.
Yeah.
Start casting
But, you know, kind of
455
going back towards
grains,
G's
50
question, you just got a lot of options, G. You know, you're hearing us talking about all the different, you know, molds that there are available, and there's 140, 150, 170, there's 160 grain round nose out there. I mean, there's just a ton of them, all the way up to 200 grains or more for the 38 caliber. But there's a lot out there in plated and jacketed as well. It's just that they cost more. You know, Extreme makes a pretty good selection of plated bullets, as do Berries and what's the other one? Acura Outdoors up there in Idaho. They've got a bunch too. So you just got a lot of choices. I would bet that most people will say 147 grain wad cutter bullet, or somewhere down around the 125, 135 grains for a 38 special non-wad cutter bullet. That's
Yeah,
from what
the
I
old,
see. Those are the kind of the popular area.
Here's
the
a
old
couple.
soup cans, everybody's favorite.
Here's a 7
Mhm.
cavity Hensley and Gibbs, and this one comes with the handles attached, and
Yeah.
it doesn't open the same as a regular mold, but you can see how big and beefy it is, and it checks in. It's probably 5 or 6 pounds, 4 or 5 pounds anyway.
Yeah,
Hey,
easy.
CW, when that thing hits the opening to where it's all the way open, I bet you that action helps knock them out. Like it kind of shocks it and knocks them out.
Yeah, this,
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good idea.
and then they're bigger molds. That's not even the biggest one. Here's the bigger one. Here's the 10 cavity.
Don't hurt yourself, buddy.
Eat your spinach. Nice. That's a good looking mold.
Willie had one of these that he had to have re-drilled. I think
Tim fixed him up. Yeah.
Tim re-welded it for him, and this opens all the way up and then opens all the way up again.
Heck yeah.
This one is a wad cutter.
There it
Is
is.
that number 50?
Yeah, it's the number 50.
Is that like the 35891 ideal?
Yeah, very similar. Yep.
Yeah.
Virtually identical.
Yep.
And, you can do them with one hand, but you won't do them as fast or
as many.
go feel
Well,
it.
at least you get a pile of bullets pretty quick. You know,
It really
it's
does.
great.
It drains a pot and it makes a pile of bullets, and they're beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful bullets.
So what's the point? What's the point with all that extra stuff below the mold? Like the mold you just showed there had the 10 cavities in it, but then below like the cavity line where the opposite of the open end, there's like 2 inches worth of unnecessary metal there.
Well,
They make all of their molds out of the same blocks, same type of same size blocks. Hensley and Gibbs did anyway. They would have those blocks were actually made by a foundry for them. Then they'd get the blocks and cut them, split them, drill it, get their cherries out and drill them. So they would use the same size blocks for a 38 mold as they would for a 45 Colt mold and so forth. But that stuff holds the heat.
Another purpose too is the heat. If you had a really small mold, a really small dimensional mold with this many cavities, you couldn't cast very fast at all. I mean, you would be wicked slow. You would overheat it within 2 fills. It'd be overheated.
Yep.
So it serves a lot of purpose being, big. And when you've got that many cavities, you need to be exponentially that much bigger to offset all that lead. You don't realize how much heat is put into that mold, one person to another. Like if you've got a guy who likes to run a stream and just fill all the cavities in a trough, like this is a trough, that's going to heat up that sprue plate a whole lot faster than the guy who pours little puddles for each cavity. So there's different ways to heat the mold and to the way you cast, you don't even realize what you're doing. So, you cast like a big 500 grain 45 caliber in a Lee mold. You can't get, 25 or 30 bullets casting fast, and that mold's overheated. You got frosted bullets, and you got smeared bases, and you're overheating the mold. But if you've got a nice big brass mold, that's going to mitigate the heat a whole lot better, and you're going to cast, the quality of your bullets are going to improve greatly. And it's partially because of the brass, but it's bigger because of the heat mitigation that brass affords. So the reason for the size is just that. It's just heat mitigation, the quality of the bullets that you can produce. And the reason for these was just that. They're called Arsenal molds. And we have Arsenal molds as a manufacturer, but that's a brand name. This was an Arsenal mold because it was designed for arsenals or bigger police departments where they could cast a whole pile of bullets for all their officers, or they could cast arsenal bullets for a factory use for someone who had a big need for a lot of ammo, a lot of bullets, and that's what these were for.
It's kind of like a Kingpin. It's kind of like a coffee cup. It cools your coffee down so that it gets to be a temperature where you can drink it faster. But after it cools it down so you can drink it, it keeps it hot enough to where it's still palatable after a few minutes. It's controlling that heat to that perfect temperature in the mold so that you get good fill out. And
that's part of the deal with the casting too, Scotsman, that the different materials we have that our molds are made out of behave differently at the pot, and you have to have a different cadence with them, and monitoring the heat level in that mold and the mold blocks themselves is something that you're sort of doing constantly as you're casting, and the condition of the bullets when they drop out of the mold gives you a clue as to whether your mold's running too hot or too cold.
And Fudd, that's an excellent question, but that's going to vary depending on the type of mold, whether it's a brass mold, a steel mold, all of that.
Size of bullet, all that, yeah.
Right. So like yesterday or a couple of days ago, I was casting iron molds, an RCDS mold and a Lyman mold, both 2-cavity molds, and those ran real well for me at 670 degrees, as indicated by my pot.
Yeah, lead temperature.
Exactly that or not. Yeah, for the lead temperature. And then from that point, you got to get the mold blocks themselves brought up to the temperature where two things will happen. One is you don't have wrinkly bullets, and the other side of that is the bullets drop out of that mold. If you get them really hot, sometimes they don't want to drop out of the mold very easily, or they get frosty.
In the 400 degree range. I'm going to say 450. Yep. You can start pushing 5, and you start to get frosty bullets. If you look at
and that's why we preheat the molds first.
Yeah, if you look at your lead, you watch your lead really close with a thermometer, you'll see your lead starts to melt. A softer lead's about 500, a little over 500 degrees. Mm-hmm. So if it's 500 degrees in your mold, it's not going to solidify. So you're in the 400 degree, lower 400 degree range is optimal, but it's not something you can set and say that's going to be the best, because like we just said, it's going to be different for different size bullets. It's going to be different for different cadences, different speeds that you cast. And Roger,
different alloys too.
Walter mentioned that he uses 2 molds, and I like to too. I'll almost never cast with 1, and that's just because of the cadence. If you got 1 mold, inevitably you're going to overspeed that mold. You're going to go too much. You're going to start smearing bases. You're going to have problems. Even more experienced guys that do it all the time, you get in the cadence, you just go and go and go, and you got to slow down. So doing 2 molds or even 3 molds, it forces you to a very repeatable cadence that produces much better products, much better bullets.
Right.
Now, right now, you're talking about a couple of different things. You're talking about the melting temperature of lead, which, like CW said, was around high 500, 600 degree area.
Depending on the alloy.
Then you're also talking about the mold itself needs to be warm, hot, not room temperature like you want it a
Oh, yeah,
couple hundred
it's
degrees
good and hot.
itself.
It's definitely upper threes, low fours. Yeah.
And that way the hot lead goes in and stays warm but still cools down, kind of like Jamie was talking about with the coffee cup.
Has a chance to flow out and fill all
Think
your.
about
Yeah.
think, and I was gonna say this kind of same thing as Jamie was talking about. Think about an insulated cup. That's basically what a mold is. It's basically like an insulated cup.
Yeah, it's a fun process. Takes a little practice. There's a lot going on. There's more going on than meets the eye. That's for sure. When you watch somebody casting, you like we used to be able to show you on YouTube. But if it kind of looks like you're just dumping the lead in there, but there's a lot of other stuff that you're thinking about the whole time, and part of the art, part of the and the hobby it makes it fun.
What do you guys use as your energy sources? Are you electric? Are you Bunsen burner? Gas? Like, what do you like to use the best as your heat source, your energy source?
Electricity, easier to control and maintain the heat at a constant level in your pot.
Yeah, they make 220s and 115s. They make different voltages, but it's electricity. You can do it over a fire. It's the old way, and it's fun. But you can do it over a Coleman camp stove. It's very doable. Nothing wrong with it. It's
Elmer Keith did it on his kitchen. His kitchen.
Yeah, you're right in the kitchen on his gas stove.
See, but here's the thing: Elmer Keith was a beast.
Yeah.
That man was an absolute freaking beast.
I would say that most of us, when we're making ingots, are using gas, propane on a burner.
That's what I do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What's going on, Ozark?
Hey,
what
Mark,
game are you watching? World Series?
Hey, so when you're making the ingots, you don't really care because you just run it as hot as you can get it to melt it as fast as you can get it as cooled off as fast as you can get it because you got other stuff to
not
do.
really. Not really. Some people do it that way, but the trouble with doing that is you can melt a bunch of different alloys that you really don't want to melt if you get
like zinc.
crazy hot.
See,
You'll melt zinc right in there and mix it with your alloy. If you can keep that temperature down, under 800, you're going to not melt zinc and you're going to protect yourself from contaminating your good alloy.
see, if you take like wheel weights, for example, most of us, whenever we get them, we'll sit there and we'll try to sort through them. And we'll try to sort through and pull the zinc out and pull this. And
You're going
pull
to miss
that.
some. You're going to miss some.
But you're always going to miss some.
Just the way it is.
Always. It's the nature of the beast. You're always going to miss some.
And my ingots are coming mostly from range scrap and some of my, rejects from my that are powder coated. And I don't want that trashy stuff in my casting pot. So I'm going to do that in something else other than my primary casting pot, which is just going to be a big cast iron bowl that goes on a turkey fryer. And plus this stuff is stinky. I'm going to do that way away from windows and outside. I'm going to do it outside and whatnot. But yeah, you come up with a temperature that's just going to melt your lead because you don't know what else is in there. I myself am guilty of shooting zinc bullets into our berm at the gun club where I get most of my stuff. But I think I'm the only guy doing that, and I only do it in one lane, and I don't harvest lead from that line.
Yeah, and I don't want to scare you either because if you have one or two small wheel weights of zinc and it gets into 40 pounds of lead, it's not going to ruin 40 pounds of lead. But it's if you get too much, you definitely will screw up your alloy.
So I'll tell y'all a quick story. Last time Willie was here, hey James of Veskage, I got something to show you. Don't run off now. So Willie bought me this turkey fryer, and first time we got out there casting lead, it was we were smelting, making ingots, and I got this it's like a rainbow film on the top of my lead, and Willie's doing all this right, and I'm I'm out there with him, and I said, "Man, that don't look right, dude. I mean that oil film looking stuff shouldn't be on there." And he said, "Call CW, call CW." So I called up CW, and I'm like, "Look, man, uh, um,
let me stop you for 1 second. If you've ever talked to Jamie when Jamie's got something going on, he'll call you and he'll be like, "Look, man."
it's like this. I got this black film on top of my lead. Me and Willie's out there casting link. It looks like
I remember the phone call.
It looks like
Oil on water.
yeah, it is yeah. So anyway, he said this is too hot. It's way too hot, and it was, man. I mean, the lead was boiling, y'all.
Bad no.
Yes,
You start separating out everything that you want in there.
yeah, yeah. I mean, even the steel's melting at that point. The little clips. There's Ms. Hot Shot. So yeah, it was a unique experience doing it. And see, I had a fish fryer, but that turkey fryer was like it was like a jet engine, man. So while James is here, uh, do I need to blow this up? I do. I need to make the
Yeah,
dogs
blow it up.
too.
Yeah, pump it up. That's a cool
Uh,
one.
y'all, Mr. Ovechkin sent me this, and I hope it looks better than the last time you seen it, James, because it's got a lot of elbow grease and sweat equity in it at this point. And yeah, I may do with the bolt, but yeah, I'd love to have that missing bolt, man. This keeps working loose, but there you go. And I can't wait to use this. And I got a question for all you guys out there. Will the sizing dies for the lineman's up to the 4500? Now, this is a 45. Then the next variation was the 450. They're up to the 4500. Well, the sizing dies for the 4500 that I can currently buy from Lyman or Midway or whatever. Will they fit and work into that? Then I got another question. Thanks, James. I appreciate you, buddy. That is so cool. I can't wait to use this thing. And I think I showed y'all last week, but Reloader 762 sent me some sizing dies. He sent me a 357, a 431, and a 430. But I don't have any top punches, so I got to get me some top punches. Walk says no, they won't. They're too short. So I guess I'm off to eBay.
The holes for grease are different. I think the
Are they?
dimensions of the dies are the same. I believe they are, but the holes that are in them to apply the grease are different.
Where they won't line up with the channels in the
Yeah,
body.
they may or may not line up.
There you go. I'm not familiar with that name, and I know I should be. Thanks for being here, buddy. Tommy boy, drill new holes. Wide flat nose, hard cast makes top punch issue easy. So I should buy some. Is that a company I can buy them from?
No, he's just saying that you can take just about any old top punch and file the the edges off of it, so you've got a flat base at the bottom of your top punch.
Yeah.
To, so if you're working with a bullet like that, that's just a flat nose bullet, you can make yourself a generic top punch that'll push down on the meat plat of just about anything and work.
Well, come to think of it, I have with that 3.5 that 359 hammer mold from MP.
They
It
should have sent
came
you
with
one.
a top
Yeah,
punch, and that's the only one I have. So I'll have to get me one for 44 caliber. There you go.
I might be able to help you out there, Jamie.
There you go.
Do you guys prefer whether it's casted or factory? Do you prefer flat nose rounds, or do you prefer like the
It
I guess
all
bullet
depends.
shaped bullet?
It all depends because the whole point of a lot of what we do is because we load to the firearm, and so you got to figure out what the firearm likes.
All kinds of flavors.
Well, and what the destination, the end destination at the end of the bullet's flight is supposed to be. Are you going to hunt with it? Is it going to be a
Yeah.
hunting round? Is it just going to be a target round? That can make a difference.
And those cowboys, they like the old round flat. They want something that looks nostalgic and looks like lead. So
I think we can work that in next week, maybe the week after.
I used to have a couple of those videos. They all went away. I think I still have those though. But yeah, that's a worthwhile topic because no one's put anything like that up in quite a while on YouTube or elsewhere.
It's always good to revisit. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you figure what your alloy is? A lot of it has to depend on whether you're going to powder coat or not. Whether you need to gas check or not, and again, how fast you're going to run them. And there's a lot that goes into picking your
that's how I
alloy.
look at it, man. You got to load for the firearm. You got to figure out exactly what the firearm likes. Like my most of my 44s like the original Keith bullet, but not all of them, but most of them. So you got to figure out what they like. You gotta play to the gun itself, and then just like Walter was saying, you gotta also think about what the purpose of it is. What are you using it for? There's a lot of different things that come into play when you're loading. And then like G23 earlier was asking about a 38 load. Is he wanting something that's a light load? Because he said it for the wife. It's a good possibility he might want a light load, not a heavy load. So there's a lot of different factors that come into play, as well as when it comes to the bullet and how you're going to make that work for the firearm itself.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the wad cutter was developed for in the first place, is a specific use, and that's to punch a nice clean round hole in a paper target that you can easily see. And that was the basic function of a wad cutter type bullet.
Yet feed better than a wad cutter.
Yep.
Pony 47's got a good question. Do you run the same temp for all bullets? Well, I would say this, and everyone else will put their 2 cents in too, I'm sure. But you got to figure out how your pot likes to run. So, like my pot, for example, likes to run right around 650 or so, and it'll run pretty good around there. Everyone's pot's going to be different, and it can be the same pot. And I've talked to many people over the years of doing this as far as casting, and they all use the Lee pot, and it all runs just slightly different. Some run better at 675. Some run better right at 700. Some run better at 600. It all just depends on the pot.
And what's your thermometer? How accurate is that too? Because there's a lot of differences. I've run my Lyman
so
pot,
many
for
things
example.
that come into play.
It says one thing, and then I stick an analog thermometer in there, and it says something else. There's about 10 degrees difference, but yeah, and it depends on the mold material, and on how hot you're going to run it. My iron molds on my Lyman Mag 25, that's a PID controlled pot, they typically run best at around 670 to 680 degrees. My Lee 6-cavity aluminum molds want to run considerably hotter than that, usually up in the 700s, 720, 30, 40 sometimes. So you just got to play with it and find out what the mold's going to do.
Yeah, it's a mold determined temperature as well as an alloy determined temperature. Your different alloys are going to run different temperatures. It's all about fill out. It's all about heat mitigation, as we were talking before. An iron mold is going to be different than an aluminum mold, and then an aluminum Lee mold is going to be different than somebody else's aluminum mold.
Arsenal or NOE, they're different
NOE
different
or Patriot or Arsenal
differences
or
in the aluminum.
Yeah, the quality of the aluminum is definitely less with the Lee and better with the other people. So they're all going to mitigate heat differently.
Yeah, you got to see how the bullets behave. How do they drop?
You're running wheel weights or you're running linotype or somewhere in between. It's going to be different. And it's going to be different for a little bitty 22 bullet than it is for a big honking 500 or 600 grain 45 caliber bullet. So
unfortunately, it comes down to the old adage of trial and error, and that's all it comes down to, is because you're going to be constantly playing with it until you get the bullet to just right.
And I have so many molds that whenever I run one for the first time, I keep a binder, and I have a page, a mold record page for that mold, and I write down where it ran best, at what temperature for a particular alloy, and then I measure the bullets that come out of each cavity and write down, because on a multiple cavity mold, they don't always drop the same dimension either. As far as diameter goes, they can be 1/1000th of an inch off, and Lees are a little more prone to that, I think, than others. But so you got to kind of pay a little bit of attention to what temperature you're going to run best, and then write it down somewhere. Sooner or later, you're going to get another mold, and you're going to forget which temperature.
And that's another thing that's alloy dependent. Different hardnesses of bullets run at different dimensions out of the same mold.
Mm-hmm.
Who would have thought this rabbit hole would go so deep?
I think I might stick another shovelful out of there real quick, because I'm trying to understand. And obviously, you guys know I'm not up on all the terminology, so forgive me if I say this stuff wrong. But you got a 140 grain bullet that you're casting, and you're 61235 mold, and you want that to be 130 grain instead. You got to buy a whole new mold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
10 grains
every
is a lot.
every different grain weight, you got to buy a different mold.
Yeah.
The alloy mix that you use, Kingpin, will change the weight of the bullet a little bit. If you're running pure lead, that's going to be a heavier bullet. But if you start mixing in some antimony and tin, those are lighter metals, and you'll get a little bit lighter bullet out of that, but not by 10 grains probably compared. Well, maybe.
Not in a 140, you won't go 10 grains. You may go 10 grains in a 500.
Not saying maybe the 10 grain. Maybe the 10 grain difference was unrealistic, but I understand what Walter's saying. He's saying if you were gonna drop it to 139 grain, you could just add a different alloy in there and lighten the bullet up. But if you wanted to dramatically change the grain weight, like some range ammo for like 9mm, 125 grain, but then a lot of hollow points that you would carry are like 90 grain. So if you wanted to drop a massive amount of grain weight, you're going to have to get a whole new mold.
Yeah. The only way you would see a big difference in the same mold would be if you had like MP is a good one, and you have a solid pin, a small hollow point pin, a large hollow point pin, or a cup point pin. All those are going to displace some lead in your mold, and it's going to make it lighter or heavier. So a solid bullet would be as heavy as the mold could be. Let's just say that's the 140. And the biggest hollow point, the biggest, deepest hollow point, may in fact take away 10 or 15 grains of weight. But that's because of the size of the hollow point. Also, when you buy a mold and it says 140, you have to look at that particular manufacturer's setup. And some companies will want to know, when you order your mold, want to know what your alloy is, because they can adjust the cavity size to make your alloy equal the weight that you're buying. Other ones like Lee, they just tell you it's this weight, but it's only that weight with one alloy. And I believe they use wheel weights, don't they?
They used to, I think. Walks.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're wheel weights.
And then you're going to have a couple other factors come into play too. And
well, I'm not done yet.
It's not going to make a huge difference, but like when you powder coat, it's going to slightly affect the weight. When you size it, it's going to slightly affect the weight. There's a few different things that pop up there.
Yeah. And truth be known, Kingpin, you wouldn't, I can't envision a reason why you'd only want to drop the weight by a couple of grains, which as you said, you could do by changing the alloy. But there's other reasons that you would change the alloy, and it wouldn't necessarily be just so that you could change the weight. If you were looking at a different weight, as we've said, you're going to look at a different mold that's designed for that. And in the 38 caliber range, as with many, you can find molds from 90 grains all the way up to 200 grains and more in 10 grain increments almost. So there's a lot for you to pick from.
There's a reason a lot of us have drawer full of molds, or multiple drawers full of molds.
Multiple drawers full, yeah.
I think I've got 6 different 44 caliber molds. Only 2 45s. I think I got 2 9s. When it comes to 38 special, I've got the 2 that I got from CW. I think that's the only 2 that I've got. One's a wad cutter and one's kind of like a Keith style. I mean, yeah, you're going to end up with multiple molds of every caliber just because, hey, I want to try that. Hey, I want to try that.
I thought of another reason, too, about picking bullet style and shape. There was something that had come through my brain and leaked out the other side earlier. But one of the issues that I look at with what bullet am I going to cast, and it goes back to what Scotsman was saying about you're doing it for the firearm. A 38 special with a round nose is not a good choice in my Henry 38 357 rifle, and not just because of the shape of the round nose. That rifle doesn't like to feed a 38 special bullet unless it's a real lead forward kind of Keith type design. That's sort of what we're talking about here with that long sort of straight sided, it's not really straight, it's angled in bullet nose, because it likes to double feed if the overall cartridge length is too short. So if I want to load 38 specials for that rifle, I need a bullet that kind of looks like that. So that's to kind of piggyback on what Scotsman was saying. That's another piece of the bullet choice that you have. And we usually don't want to put a pointy bullet into a tube-fed magazine on a rifle.
CW
because
made
of
a video.
the idea is that recoil can come in there and one bullet poke up into the primer of the next one in the tube. That's a possibility. So we like flat nose bullets for that application also. Okay.
CW made a video here not too long ago on a couple different bullets, trying them in a lever action to see if they would work or not work.
Right. The Cowboy Specials.
and it's a really good way to look at it because it's an excellent video because it shows you that exactly that you're loading for the firearm. Not every bullet's going to work.
Yep, that was a good
We
one.
ran into that at Dead Zero. Uh, we were running some of my 44 special loads through my Henry, and it wouldn't feed those for anything. So I grabbed the 44 Magnums, which was a larger, rounder nosed bullet, and it would eat them all day long. But every time that we'd put some 44 specials in there, it would just lock up. You had to shake it, play with it, and just didn't want to feed them.
Yeah, that's good point, CW.
Yeah, powder coat changed the game.
Mm-hmm. And CW has a good point there. So softer lead, a softer alloy is cheaper. When you got to start, even if you start with freebie lead like I do with my range scrap, that's what we call antimonial lead. It's mostly it comes out of there, and it's about 3% antimony and might have a little bit of tin in it, but it's a BHN, a Brunel hardness of 8 or 9 is all that stuff is to start with. And if you need it harder than that, then you've got to add some of these other metals, and they are expensive. You start adding tin, and tin's over $30 a pound now. If you have to buy it, and we use another product that's generically referred to as super hard, which is about 30% antimony, and you lops a little bit of that stuff off and throw it in your pot, and the antimony will cause the alloy to crystallize a little bit different, and it ends up being harder. But that can easily double the price of a bullet from just a couple cents up to 3-4 cents.
And what I
a
found
pop.
was amazing too, and this is a very simple thing, and usually it doesn't cost anything, is water quenching.
Mm-hmm.
You can water quench as you cast, and the bullet will be harder. And then you can water quench after you powder coat them, and the bullet will still be harder.
By a little
And,
bit, and that depends on the alloy too, though.
right.
If
And
the more
if you
antimony you've got in that alloy, the more gain you will get in Brunel hardness by water quenching. I did a whole bunch of testing when I first started powder coating, and found that I got with the alloy that I'm using, there is no appreciable gain by me quenching right out of the mold and then quenching again after I take them out of the oven from powder coating. The powder coating oven reanneals that lead and softens it right back down to where it was before.
Yep.
So I'll only quench if I'm going to powder coat. I'll only quench after I bake it. There may be a slight gain, and again, the more antimony you've got, the more gain you're going to get from water quenching.
What
and
you
I've
have to
also
realize
noticed
is
that the longer that you let the bullets sit after you cast them, the harder they get.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Up
I
to a
thought that
point.
was amazing.
Yeah.
and that's dependent on the alloy as well.
All right.
What
And
you have to
that will
realize,
actually, the hardness will follow a curve. It doesn't go up linearly and then, forever. It'll go up to a certain point and then actually soften a little bit. We're talking like after a year or something, and then come back. So
It's all
that's
about the
interesting.
gravitational pull on the alloy.
It's got to be it. How many times the cat peed on it while they were sitting
Right.
on the floor?
Yeah, if Jupiter's aligned with Uranus, and
I've got a question. I seen a article on using pewter with lead. Where does that come into play?
for hardness, it'll bring up the hardness.
It'll flow.
Yeah, it helps it fill out the mold. Pewter's got a lot of tin in it.
Tin.
That's what we're looking for.
That's what I was reading on it.
Yeah, helps it flow out.
Yeah, tin helps you, get these edges of your grease grooves all nice and sharp. It helps fill in those little circles that are where we call those grease grooves, where the lubricant normally would go if we weren't powder coating. It adds a little bit of hardness, but not very much. It's the antimony that will really, spike up your hardness for you. But I always throw a couple nuggets of tin in my range scrap when I'm going to cast with it. Cranky's got a good question there. Can we all agree that the 45 Colt is the most enjoyable to reload? Boy, there's a lot of breadth that you can reload with in the 45 Colt caliber.
You can go very small, or you can go very what you want to
Absolutely, all kinds of different firearms. You can get the nostalgic stuff with the single action Army, which I love to shoot. And like Kyle said, you can load a little Dinky Cowboy Special. You can load, 45 Schofield and 45 Colt. You got a number of different cartridges you can stick through some of those firearms. If they'll take them, they'll run them.
Now, see, CW,
All right, so-
CW runs his powder coat different than I do. I do the Elvis Ammo 275 for 15 minutes. And my powder coat comes out just fine. It doesn't, when I resize the bullets, I have no issues with them.
I'm a stand-up guy. 420 minutes, done.
Yeah, that's been my MO forever. And I'm in the if it ain't broke, don't fix it camp. It works well for me, and I've never had any issues, with one exception. There are some powders that you run into here or there that don't do well under that scenario. But for the most part, the powders that we're using, all across the board and stuff down here, we're all using a lot of the same powders, and they seem to work pretty well at 400 for 20 minutes. Who knows what temperatures your oven's really running at? I mean, that they're all a little bit different too. But in that ballpark, they seem to do well.
Off, but they're all going to be fairly close to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the same. I do 400 for 20.
And that 20 minutes for me is kind of an important 20 minutes, because that's when I'm overloading up my next tray.
I think it was Jamie that told me back when I first started powder coating. Once you start to see it kind of gloss, it's about another 5 minutes or so on, and then it should be done.
Insight Freedom's got a good question too. Well, we got a lot of rabbit holes tonight.
I don't know. Freedom.
Absolutely.
I've never noticed it, but
Absolutely.
yeah.
Improperly cured powder coat can cause all kinds of problems.
I don't know if
I
it
guess
was.
so. I mean, I've had some that I tried at lower temperatures and they didn't set. It didn't take a good set, and you could scrape it off with
Yeah,
your fingers.
it'll scrape off. It'll peel off.
If it
Rub
scrapes
off.
and it peels as it goes through that barrel and it goes through the rifling, it's gonna come off as it's going through that rifling.
That's why you always do the hammer test on one bullet. Stick it on a vise and smack it with a hammer. If the powder coat stays on it, you're good.
Make sure you move your thumb too.
That sounds like the voice of experience.
Oh, a time or two.
So
Yeah.
we've heard from Walter, we've heard from myself. What about the rest of you guys? What kind of things do you change up when the weather's changing?
I do a lot more casting during this time, obviously reasons why, but I'll go to an open carry status, but it'll be underneath the flannel or underneath the jacket, so it can be a little more comfortable for me as far as carrying something. There's a few loads that I make adjustments to if I'm going to be shooting in the cold versus shooting in the hot with the powder. Just a few percentages off because it acts a little different. But not much else. Just Georgia boy.
Good Lord.
That's good advice. Just don't cast in Crocs now. We know why.
Why am I not surprised you wear Crocs?
Crocs are an abomination of shoes.
What?
I've got a pair of Crocs
They're
right
not
here.
even
I've
shoes.
had for over 20
Good for
years.
you.
They're
Good for
slippers.
you.
I don't think they take the place of a shoe, but they do serve well in their purpose.
What is their purpose?
They have
Slip them on and run to the garage. Slip them on, run to the corner store. Slip them on around the house.
Their purpose is simple: downrange, burn them up, shoot them up, blow them up.
Whatever.
I'm gonna buy some Crocs just to shoot on video.
Oh.
Okay, Kingpin. What do you do differently during the colder weather, man? Do you do anything different?
I do a lot of stuff different, but nothing really firearm related different. I just got a carry permit, so as far as my carry during the winter or summer before, that never happened, allegedly. And I don't cast or reload yet. So I guess really the only thing that I do differently is probably January and February I skip going to the range. But now I really don't even have that option because my local range is going to close January and February anyway.
Okay.
The
Well,
problem with Crocs is you can't walk backwards in them.
There's a lot of problems with Crocs.
If you put them in
Thank you,
attack
Pat.
mode, you can.
I love the running joke. They got those steel-toed Crocs for the people in the warehouses that have to wear the steel toes.
Yep. I actually showed up to work in my Crocs with aluminum foil over the toes.
That's funny.
Kyle, what do you do different in the winter, man? In the colder times, in the winter time, what do you do?
In the winter, I do a lot more casting because, down here in Georgia, it is hot and humid in the summertime. That's when I usually cast up all my jars full of bullets, and sometimes I'll powder coat them that same day. Sometimes I'll let them sit for a month. Stuff like that. I do change out my vehicle bag. I'll take some stuff out and I'll put some cold weather clothes in, gloves, extra beanie hat, something like that. So I'll change that up. And I start to carry my Colt 1911 a lot more in my shoulder rig because I just got a light jacket on or maybe a heavy jacket. And I just really love that gun. But it's too big and bulky to do an inside the waistband carry for the job that I do because I'm always getting up, sitting down, that kind of stuff. But like walking through the warehouse, there's no problem with a shoulder rig. You got a light jacket on. I tend to carry my larger frame firearms. I've got a 380. Actually, it's not in my pocket. It's on the kitchen table right now. That's what I normally carry at work. There's usually something else in my backpack that's under my desk, and there's definitely something else in the car. So I'm not worried about that. But I change up my everyday carry a little bit every change of seasons. I got a vacuum pack sealed thing of heavy socks, thermal underwear, and that kind of stuff. that I add to my bag in the wintertime. Of course, I don't need that when it's 110 degrees outside. So I take it out in the summertime. As far as reloading, the temperature outside doesn't really change what I do because it's in a temperature controlled environment in my house. So, but I do a lot more casting in the wintertime and smelting of ingots and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, Hillbilly Up made a comment out there, and man, I thought you were all about America. I thought you were they all live in American redneck right there, and then you said Ugg boots, and I'm like, no, you're done, dude. You're done. You're done. Crocs and Ugg boots, you're done.
But it's okay to wear a skirt, guys.
It's not a skirt.
Oh, dadgummit, man.
It ain't a skirt, boy.
You had to go there, Mark. Oh my God.
Just remember.
Hey.
Just remember.
We're almost done. I wanted to send him on his way nice and ripe.
You ain't that far away, and I will drive there.
Come on back, brother. I'll be waiting
Mr.
on you.
Hotspot, what do you do differently when the weather changes, man?
Well, I carry the same one year round because of being proficient with it. And I just changed to an outer waistband. I do a pennies carry during the summer months and outer waistband in the wintertime. And I don't care if I print. I don't care if people see it. I don't care. Let them know.
Does anybody else fear? This is another rabbit hole. If somebody's on a mission and they see you carrying, do you think that makes a difference if you're a target or not?
And Mark Thomas, that's exactly why it's called a kill. Thank you, sir.
Situational awareness. How about that?
Agree, 100%.
Situational awareness. I do my best to practice that 100.
I battled a little bit of that when I started carrying. You know, I didn't want to advertise to a would-be criminal versus I wanted to advertise, hey, look at that guy. He's carrying. He's one of the good guys, you know. But on the other side of it, you could have a would-be criminal look at you as the first target they're taking out to do their deed. I don't know. I had a little trouble with deciding whether to go concealed or open, and I mostly carry concealed.
The way I look at it, it's a 50-50 shot. I mean, there's arguments on each side of the fence.
Right. Just something to talk about.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, from my point of view, I don't care if you see I've got it because I'm looking around me all the time. My head's on a swivel. If I'm in my car, in the gas station, in the grocery store, in my house. I try to keep my head on that. I try to have situational awareness of everywhere I'm at, what's around me, you know, what I'm going into and what I'm leaving.
Right.
Here's a simple, short and skinny on it. If they want to make you a target, they're going to make you a target regardless of how you carry. So
Yes.
Carry however the hell you want to, because it's not going to make a huge difference. It really doesn't. If they have the intent and that is what they want to do, that is their plan.
Right.
They are going to pick and choose how they want to pick and choose, and it's not really going to affect anything whether you're carried inside or outside. Really
The only point being is if they know you're carrying it all, because if they don't know, then you're not a target.
But you're still a target.
No, that's true either.
That's my point, though.
It's 50-50. You know,
if they have the intent of what they're going to do, you're already a target anyway.
That's very true.
Well, it goes back to
I agree 100% with
it goes back to a Tom Gresham show when people walked into a scenario when there was a gun drawn on them already, and you were going to be the defender. Everybody tried to draw their gun and fire upon the gun that was already drawn on them, and everybody lost. So if you already have a gun trained on you, you are not faster than that finger versus you pulling it all the way out of your belt and bringing it up. It just,
there here goes situational awareness.
yeah,
Is there going to be a good time to draw your weapon?
you're going to be moving and ducking and looking for an opportunity. Yeah.
Yes. Are you better off giving up what you've got in your pocket and going on your way?
Well, and just like you said earlier, Hot Pot, the thing is no matter where you go, you should be this way constantly, no matter what. Head on a swivel, constantly.
Most definitely.
How many people, like, I don't live in an open carry state, so generally if you're open carry, you're some type of security or fire department or police department, something like that around here. How many people do you think are open carry and then actually just got a cell phone on their hip? So we give these bad guys too much movie credit.
Oh, that's true.
You guys are seasoned gun guys, and I bet you that there's a bunch of people that walk by you with a cell phone on their hip, and you're like, "Oh, I wonder what kind of gun that is." Oh, it's a cell phone. Never mind.
Sneaky Pete.
So the bad guy who's
Good point.
doing a mass shooting isn't Dr. Evil. Isn't generally hardly ever in history ever super planned out and tactical guy, looking to eliminate threats and all that kind of stuff. Generally, it's not going to work like that. So the bad guy who's getting ready to pop off most likely isn't scanning the room. They're looking for badges. They're looking for guys with vests on that say security or something like that. Looking for action. They're not scoping out the regular guy standing there buying a pair of tennis shoes at the Walmart and saying, "Oh, is he carrying or not? Because he's going to be my first target."
That's a good point. Yeah.
I like to be Mr. Gray. I do not wear a lot of tactical style 511, take my guns, take my life shirts.
Right.
I'm Mr. Gray. I wear average everyday clothing. My car's not average, but
no stickers on my car either. Yeah,
yep,
I don't do that.
No stickers on my car. My car stands out enough as it is, right, Mark?
Yeah.
So no stickers on my car. No indication that I'm carrying anything. I try to be Mr. Gray and blend into the crowd. I don't want to stand out as some tactical dude wearing the boots and the pants and the shirt and the hats and.
That's your best defense. Walking away is your best defense. I mean, period. That's
one of the big things that most people fail on is attitude, and just your attitude alone can change the entire situation.
I'd like to build on that for just a second, and this is probably going to sound insulting to a lot of people, and I don't mean it to be. I just come from a different perspective, I guess. But when you guys talk about having your head on the swivel, what I hear is you're paranoid and you hate your lives and you walk around in fear all day long. No, I'm just being honest because you're my brothers, and that's the way it sounds.
It becomes second nature, though.
Boots walking around terrified all day long.
Hang on. No, stop. All right, so let me clarify something here, and it's an excellent thing you bring up, Kingpin. I'm glad you bring this up. It's not that I'm walking around nervous. It's not that I'm walking around scared that something's going to happen, this, that, the other. Here's the thing. I look at, how do I say this without coming off crazy? Because someone out there thinks I'm not crazy anymore. No, I am still batshit crazy. So the way that I was kind of brought up and the way that I've spent my life, whenever I walk somewhere and I go somewhere I'm not familiar with, I'm gonna look around. I'm gonna make sure I know my exits. I know my vantage points. I know the potential way a threat may happen. And that's not being nervous. That's not being anything of the like. It is being prepared. And you have to be prepared no matter what. So some people may take that in a different light. But at the end of the day, it's being prepared. You're being set up for yourself to understand where you're at, what's going on, what's around you, your potential exits, the potential hazards that may potentially come in and cause you a threat. Um, there's a lot of different things that come into play there, but like if I go to a restaurant, for example, or I go to a bar, any one of those two. Generally, I don't go to bars that often, guys. I really don't. I prefer to drink at home. I hate going to bars. But if I go to a restaurant, for example, when I go to a restaurant, I want to be able to see the entrance and my exits. I want to be able to see every which way someone could potentially come in that building and cause me harm. And it's not because I'm scared. It's not because I'm freaking out, this, that, the other. It's because I want to see those various things and have a plan.
It goes back to, some of that becomes habit. You follow your level of training, and we are 2 minutes away from closing time, boys.
Yeah, we're past time. Uh, Good to see you out there reloading press. We've been missing you, and I think I sent you a link. But man, it's good to see you out there, dude. Let's go through the room, tell everybody good night, then clear the floor for uh, the funky chicken, Mr. Gizzard Gary.
The
Uh,
funky chicken.
you want to go first, Scotsman? Chico always went first.
Sure, man. Hell, I'll go first. I don't mind. It's been good, man. It's been an excellent chat. Lots of great discussion. Lots of good topics. The side chat's been rocking and rolling. They've had some good questions out there and brought up some good points as well. I appreciate everyone out there. Appreciate y'all. I appreciate you inviting me. And it's always good to be here and blessed to know each and every one of you and blessed to live under the American flag. And God bless America. That's all I got.
Amen. Kingpin, thanks for joining us, man. I always love you being on here with your insightful questions. You're going to be
Oh,
working on anything this week?
no, just working. That's about it. But thanks for having me. I appreciate everybody. And don't forget to go check out Gizzard Gary after the show.
Absolutely. Mr. Hot Pot got a new rig this week, and we didn't even give him a chance to show it off.
That's all
That'll,
right. Just give you a chance to watch the videos.
yeah, that'll have to be first next week.
My
Thanks for
goal.
being here, brother.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. Man, got a busy weekend with Big Mike from Illinois. Got to shoot with him tomorrow. I'm going to do a day out Sunday with him. And yeah, thanks for having me. Bless all of you. God bless America. And live, love, laugh, and reload.
Thank you, buddy. Mark.
Hey, everybody. Enjoy the weekend. Just remember, we all got something to learn, and we all have something to share. Next.
Hey, wake me up. I'm old.
Thanks for being here, man. Go ahead, Walter.
Thanks, as always, for inviting me to be part of the panel here tonight. It was a great discussion. It amazes me how you can start off with not much of an idea and away we went. And side chat, you guys are great. This week, I'm going to be working on building up the new channel. There are a couple questions over there. Yeah, YouTube did delete my channel. I had 2 strikes running, and I put up a video this week, and they said, no, you're done. So I'll be building that new channel. We'll get the word spread out when the time comes. I got a couple of videos up there now, and we'll be putting more up there. So that's what I'm up to.
Thanks for joining us. Always great to have you here. CW, how you doing, bud?
Good deal, man. I want to thank the panel, thank all the side chat. We had a real good participation. It was a good rocking side chat for sure. I hope everyone has a great and safe week. And any hunters going out, good luck. That's it for me. CW out. Kyle, what's going on, man?
I just want to say it was fun tonight. Thanks to the panel. Thanks to everybody in the side chat. Everybody make sure that first thing in the morning when the sun comes up, you hose off your garden shovels so we can dig more rabbit holes next weekend. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, buddy. We missed you last week. So, thanks everybody for being here. We're going to get out of the way for Gizzard Gary. I hope y'all have a blessed week. Let me see if I can do this. Tuesday night is the Reloading Podcast. Wednesday night is Chris from the 740. I think AR and Echo are getting ready to start back up on Thursdays. Friday night is us. Tomorrow, 6 o'clock, G23, 8 o'clock. Uncle Jim's talking about having a Halloween chat tomorrow night. So if you want to be scared, go over there and check that out. That'll be fun. Sunday night is Foreign and Domestic at 7 p.m. on the Scottish American channel. We hope the Lord blesses y'all all real good. And if He's willing, we'll see you next Friday night at 8 o'clock. Say good night, y'all.
God
Night,
bless.
y'all.